All right, happy days. Mike Morelli here with Justin Sheffer. Justin's stoked, absolutely stoked to record this with you, man. And this client experience video, Justin's going to be talking about how he went from filled with uncertainty, self-doubt, trying to just navigate these negative self-sabotaging thoughts, to now he's confident and he's fulfilled and he's got clarity of thought moving forward. Justin, introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. What's up? What's up, everybody? My name's Justin. As Mike was telling you a little bit just now, before I started working with Mike, I had a tough time. I really had a tough time, and it's funny, the day that he reached out and we kind of cherished a relationship from the beginning. I had bought a book that day that was a workbook that said, and the title of it is How to Be Happy, because I was so it seems like there's this never-ending cycle of disappointment, self-doubt, uncertainty, what my next move is that next move going to make me happy? I was so focused on just being happy that I didn't realize, certain things have to go into being happy when we started working together.
That's a great intro. It's like I had just bought in the book How to Be Happy, and we'll talk definitely more about the happiness thing that our society is definitely we're like super focused on. But like before our first conversation, you mentioned that brief little intro, but like what was going on in your life at the time?
Yeah, no, great question. So before you had reached out, I had, number one, I had lost my job, which at the time I really was happy with and focused on motivating myself to continue to rise in that position. And that was a career coach and a graduate assistant over at SUNY Albany. When I lost that job due to the pandemic, I was kind of forced on my feet to figure something out. I'm getting older. I put pressure on myself to really just have something in my pocket that would hopefully transition into certainty, happiness, and confidence again. And that's where I was really focusing a lot of my efforts, is on those things. So I decided to take a job with Northwestern Mutual. And it was a commission-only job. And the recruiter had talked me up to the whole company, instilled confidence in me. And then I was at that job and I absolutely hated it. It was really hard. It was not aligned with my interests or my purpose at all. So I decided to leave that company, and I got absolutely annihilated for it. I thought that my exit strategy was appropriate and professional, but they were super upset with me. They said I let the company down, I let the organization down, I did all these things. So not too short after that, I fell into a really, really dark place, to the point where I was just about damaging relationships with people because I wasn't being honest with myself with how I felt. And instead I was pushing it down away. And that's right about the time that, I had commented on one of your posts, and you reached out and we really started a relationship together.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And like at that time when we had that, like we had like a short call and then we had a longer call, like when you were going through a lot of that stuff, just like your relationships were getting affected. Like what was it like waking up in the morning, like when you'd open your eyes and like go about your day? Like what were you trying to navigate? Like what's the first thought that's popping in your head?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. At that time, a good day was a productive day, right? So I was so focused on productivity. And when that didn't happen, in my own definition of productivity at the time was, applying to a job or cleaning the house or running errands or anything like that, I felt as if that was where my head was at as soon as I woke up. And that immediately created this immense stress that I was putting on myself. So to answer your question, my heart would be racing as soon as I opened my eyes, because I was already stressed and anxious and just spiraling in this direction in the morning to start the day. And as you know, that's the most important part of your day, is how you start it and what
100%.
mindset you have going into it. So, I was super uncomfortable with that, and I really didn't know how to get out of it. And I honestly had told myself, I'm like, well, this is how you're going to start your days for now, I guess. And it was a moment of self-reflection, saying like, dude, you're not doing it right. You don't have strategies in your life to really allow you to feel a certain way and start your day in a way that you'd like. So yeah, to answer your question, I would wake up and my heart would be pounding, no joke, with just because of anxiety and stress immediately when I started the day.
How is all of that just affecting your relationships and your work and like even the life that you want to lead moving forward?
Yeah, it affected it greatly. And during this time, I had also told myself that I wanted to start a business because it's been on my mind for years. I mean, I went to Oswego for that purpose. I went to be a personal trainer with the hopes of running my own gym someday. So that entrepreneurial spirit was always there. So it affected my work in regards to that, right? So my uncertainty was leading me to say, oh, nobody's going to look at your posts. Nobody's going to take the time to really, understand what you're trying to say. Nobody's going to get any value out of it. You're stupid. You don't know anything. You don't have enough training. You don't have enough experience. Like all this garbage that was just flooding my head and creating such a negative image of myself. I mean, I literally could not look myself in the mirror. I shaved in the shower and brushed my teeth in the shower for a good 3-4 months after the summer was over. And it was tough. It was really hard. So long story short, to answer your question, my relationships were damaged because I wasn't communicating my feelings with my friends or my family. And they clearly knew that something was wrong because I'm pretty good at wearing my emotions on my face. So that aspect was, detrimental. My work was affected because of all that fogginess and negativity in my head. And it was actually not allowing me to just take a step forward and make a little bit of progress in any direction, really. I would just not do anything. I would just keep pushing it off. And honestly, it affected the way that I carried myself. And it really instilled like, this negative confidence, this like, oh, you suck, whatever, like all this negativity. And now, it's those things are completely managed and they still happen, but it's not as aggressive as it used to be, which is truthfully amazing.
Yeah, this is like the key point in all personal development that I hope everyone understands right now. It's not that I mean, I go through self-doubt, I go through some anxiety and stress, but it doesn't control my life, right? And that's the point that we want to get to. It's like, we've been sold the idea in personal development that if we get to some level that all of our problems are going to magically go away. And that's not real life. Like you still go through those things, but now you have the tools, mindset, and strategies in place to handle them. And also you have the awareness to know where they come from, right? It's not like this like mysterious force that's against you.
Right. And that's exactly, I really like the way you said that. You have the tools to find out kind of where they come from and where they originate and how they originate. And that's so truthful. One of the things that you shared with me over our 8 weeks that I truthfully use every single day as a positive is just one word switch. And that is, instead of saying, I got to do these things today, I have to do these things today, I need to do these things today. A simple switch would say, I get to do these things today. I'm happy to do these things today. Even if they're things that you don't love, but it's so simple. It's so simple. It's so important.
What was some of the other some of the other work that we had done together? I mean, we did some pretty solid work together for sure. And I'm curious as to like what was one of the more transformative things that we had done. It could have been like, one of the implemented resources or whatever. What was one of the ones that stood out to you?
Oh, dude, this is like, it's like asking me what my favorite food is, for God's sake. First of all, it was all amazing. Every single, and I'm not just blowing smoke up, there. This is information and strategies that really resonate with me. And I hope that anybody who's listening feels the same way. And if you are, definitely have a conversation with Mike. Anyway, one thing that was super, super helpful, two things. The first one was the biases and judgments.
Yeah. Oh
Gee,
my God.
like unbelievable. Understanding like why we have and feel certain ways about people and experiences in the world in general.
Mm.
I lied. I said two things. I'm going to say three things.
Go for it. Share it all. I don't care.
The second thing was 3 weaknesses in 3 people. I'll never forget doing that activity because I texted, 5 or 6 of my closest friends and family. And I said, hey, I'd really love to have a conversation with you to kind of divulge what some of my strongest weaknesses are. And I'll never forget a text message I got from one of my buddies. And he's like, wow, that's a crappy way to have a conversation, but I'm all in, man. That's if it's going to help you and if it's going to allow you to become more aware of why you do certain things and why you may focus on one thing versus the other in regards to strengths and weaknesses, then I'm all in. And the reception that I got from that was incredible. I mean, they had shared some things with me that I had no idea of. And you don't know that until you ask somebody about it. Because it's so hard for us to really assess ourselves when all we got going on in here is spiraling. So that was the second thing. The third thing, and probably the most prominent experience or memorable, was the path to peace. It was.
That's kudos to Scott, my coach, who I'm collaborating with now, but that's all kudos to him. But keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. If you're watching this, thank you. Because it was truly transformative, because it allowed me to seriously take the effort to evaluate the experiences in my life that have contributed to why I engage in certain activities or react in certain ways and have opinions on certain people. And that to me is just incredibly enlightening. I mean, there were things that were underlying in my world and my experiences that I was projecting onto other people that I was not aware of as to why and how. And that's something to me that just it kicked my ass. It did. I mean, and I remember coming to you, Mike, and we were fortunate enough to have in-person sessions, so it was great. But I just remember feeling so emotional and just getting a little worked up because I hadn't realized that these experiences in my life had really had such a deep effect on the way that I think and the way that I view things and the way that I act.
Yeah, that work specifically is incredibly, powerful, and it's, the level of awareness and understanding as to like why you struggle with the things that you struggle with, that there's not just like tools, but like literal solutions for it. That's like the biggest drive home point that I always say is like, I think a lot of personal development is like surface level tools and hacks, which are good. They're good for certain things. But like when we're talking about really doing like change, like people say, I want to change. I want to be the best version of myself or whatever. Well, you have to be willing to do that work. Right. And it's like, think about that like biases and judgments, 3 people, 3 weaknesses, path to peace. What did that do for your self-worth?
You're crushing it. Well, I can tell you one thing that I do right now as a result of those activities. I wake up every single morning, go right into the bathroom, and my hair's all disheveled and I look like I'm waking up, and I go into the mirror and I say, Justin, you are doing everything that you can and you're working hard, and I value you for that. I'm not quite at the point where I say I love you yet, but I'm working towards that. And I feel more comfortable with just looking at myself and saying, you're working hard. You are. I've never been able to do that, ever. It was always, you're not working hard enough. You could be doing more. You're a shit stain, all these things. And we've had conversations in the past where I used to receive compliments growing up from parents, from family members, from friends. I used to take those compliments and not say thank you, but say, you're not doing enough to get a better compliment.
Yeah. Yep.
And I wasn't able to accept it. And that was really, I never understood why. Even as a young kid, as a 10-year-old, I'd make 30 free throws in a row on the basketball court. My mom would say, "Holy moly, Justin, you're pretty good at this." And I'd be like, "No, I'm not, Mom. There's guys on the team who can make 50 in a row.
Yep.
The coach showed us yesterday that, we need to be shooting 100 of these a day.
Yep.
I'm only doing 30." And I would just get I just hit myself in the heart, like everywhere, and it's one of those experiences that really provides that awareness level to you, understanding why you feel that way.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing amongst like high achievers, high performers, guys who are like leaders. If that's one of you watching this video right now, and you struggle with that, with the disappointment, dissatisfaction, lack of fulfillment in life, it's not going to come from working harder. Like that is the biggest drive home point, right? It's like, okay, you can do more and you can strive for more. And we're not saying that, but if you think that working harder and like setting higher goals is going to make you truly like at peace in life, it's not going to. So a question is, why did you decide to start working with me? What was the reason for that?
So when you reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to have a conversation, just kind of discuss ideas and see where you're at," I had no problem saying yes, because I knew the work that you did and I knew that I needed it, truthfully. And that's why I agreed to have that conversation, was because I was looking at myself saying, something needs to change. Something needs to change. You need to put more of an effort into yourself than you ever have in order to get yourself at least crawling out of this, making steps to get out of it. So one of the reasons why I wanted to work with you is because I saw a lot of myself in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we can resonate with that and connect, and just based off of our sessions that we've had together. I mean, we went off on tangents. We talked about all these different things, not just focused on, self-improvement and getting better, but you allowed me to open up and be myself. And that's something that's truly important to me, in any format of life. I don't feel as if, we should be absolutely restricted to being vulnerable and transparent with people at the same time. And that's something that you did just a phenomenal job of, my friend. And I can confidently sit here and say that you'll be a lifelong friend, not just somebody that I worked with. Seriously.
Yeah, totally resonate with that. When this is an interesting thing, when we were talking about, working together, and we had that longer call, and I said, "Hey, this is a great fit. I'm going to make you an offer to work with me." And then we were, you had some objections about price and the investment. What would you say about that whole experience?
Yeah, knocking it out of the park, man. Seriously. Well, I'll tell you that, I've never invested in myself away from education, because that's all we've ever been taught to do, right? You go to school, you get good grades, you go to college. That's it. Then you start working, and then your life has started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anything away from education, with as high of a price point as that is, I've never valued anything away from that above like $200.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. So when you first came across with the price, I was like, no way. As you said, like, objection wise, I don't think that I'm worth this amount of money. I don't think that, you are worth that amount of money. Like, instantly, like my rational side of my brain clicked in and said, no freaking way. And even after I had agreed to work with you, I had expressed some severe anxiety as a result of, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make financial situations work?
Mm-hmm.
No, and I truly was just not believing in myself or the process that I had signed up for.
Yep.
And I was so negatively inflicted in the beginning for making this decision. But within the work that we did, and the true ability for you to give me the resources to have me skyrocket, literally, the investment was incredibly worth it. And I go back on it, and I look at how I was feeling back then, And I maybe even sometimes experience some of those similar anxieties, but it's so easy for me to push them away and say, this is going to help you for the rest of your life.
Yep.
This is a small investment in the grand scheme of things. It's tiny, tiny. And for me to sit back on these last 8 weeks and say, oh, it's over, I go right back. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm going to use these skills that I've learned and these tools and abilities that we've discussed every single day until the day that I die. And it will make me a better person. It will make me feel more confident, and it will allow me to feel good about what I'm doing. And that is all kudos to you and for you allowing yourself to work with me. So to answer your question, the monetary investment was scary as hell at first.
Sure.
But it is incredibly worth it. And I would recommend it to anybody who feels similar ways, truthfully. Another thing too, like, and kudos to your business as well. You're incredibly organized. I mean, you do things in such a methodical way to make sure that that people who invest with you are getting their money's worth. And I think there's nothing more valuable with that, especially in entrepreneurship. So
cheers.
Yeah.
What results do you feel like you've experienced just through the transformational course? What would you share would be like some of the bigger kind of results there, and how have they had an impact on your personal life, on your financial situation, and your relationships?
Yeah. So one of the things that stuck out to me was being aware of the the negativities and all these experiences that I've had in the past, and having difficult conversations with those people or those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Really being able to be vulnerable, allow myself to feel emotion, not put as much pressure on myself, has truthfully transformed my own experiences. For example, I'll give you a classic example. One of my employment positions that I work in currently is over at a country club, local country club. And this guy in the bar, one of the workers, was getting frustrated because somebody had called him a racial slur. And I said to him, listen, pal, I want you to hear me out just for a second. And I remember sharing this with you as well,
yeah.
Mike. I said, listen, pal, the only reason he chose to say that to you is because he is projecting his own experiences and his reality onto you. It is nothing that you have done directly. Nothing. You might have just set off the bomb. It might have been just the cherry on top for his own life and his own experiences. And he decided to take it out on you out of emotion. So what I advise for you to do, because then this guy who had, taken in this racial slur was all fired up. He was freaking pissed. And unfortunately, I was there when it happened. So I kind of had to talk him off a ledge a little bit. And if it wasn't for yours and I's experience leading up to that, situation that I was in, I would not have been able to confidently and coherently say that to him and believe in it as well. There's a difference between understanding something and believing in it. Truthfully, totally. There is, man. It's
deep, deep difference.
Yeah. And I resonate with that. And I would not have said that to him if I didn't believe it and I didn't instill it in myself as to why certain things happen.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between knowledge and understanding. And most people say, I know that because you heard about it or you read about it. But there's a difference between understanding, which is actually living it and seeing it in full living color and seeing how it works or the patterns of your life. Yeah. So totally. And that goes for anything. So, yeah, I feel like you definitely have, your transformation throughout this course has been unreal, right? It's been special. This is to sit here today and just have you tell your story is amazing. It really is. And you have absolutely. So like a big thing, Justin, is like we a lot of times we have this like fear of change,
Mhm.
right? You've changed significantly, but you're the same guy. You've still got the same girlfriend. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so we have this fear of change that like, if we do change that, we're going to be this like totally different person. Like we're going to lose all of our friends. What would you say about your relationship with your girlfriend and the relationship with your parents and your relationship with your friends and relationships with other people as a leader? Have they improved or have they gotten worse?
They've drastically improved.
Yeah.
And I'm going to relate to that strictly based on difficult conversations,
Mm.
right? In the past, before we started working together, I would shy away from those difficult conversations because I was fearful of the receiving end. I was fearful of what those people and how those people were going to react and what they were going to say to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried that I wouldn't have a rebuttal or I wouldn't be able to have an explanation as to why I feel that certain way, or they would make me feel stupid for feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
But since we've worked together, all of those thoughts that I've had in my head are completely bullshit. They are. I mean, I had a very difficult conversation with somebody who's really, really close to me, being my father. And it was so hard, and there was a lot of emotion, but it was one of the most important things I've ever done in my life. And at the end of it, he said, "Thank you." He said, "Thank you for allowing me to share my side of the story and how it's affected everybody, including you."
Wow.
I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking
Same.
about, like
Same.
I truthfully like, and Mike knows as well as anybody else who follows Mike, who knows me really well. My family is very close. I stay very closely connected with my father, my brother, my mother, and my friends in particular, and my girlfriend. I'm very relationship oriented. I'm a very relationship oriented individual. So when I say that and then say, I was so fearful of the receiving end of the conversation, well, am I a relationship oriented person? I'm not too sure. But, I don't say that to create any uncertainty, but I say that because if I'm truly a relationship oriented person, I will be confident in the goods and the bads of any situation that may become possible within those relationships. And instead of just focusing on really, really good things all of the time, which, no offense, is incredibly unrealistic, uh, I was able to dive into the uncertainty and the fear and things that didn't allow me to have those conversations in the past. So, and I know these answers are long-winded, but I'm clearly passionate about this stuff, and I believe in it, man. It's inspiring, truthfully.
Cheers. You've done the work. The big thing that I see a lot of guys, like a lot of the guys that we work with are like driven, they're motivated, they want to be the best versions of themselves. They're like typically leaders, they want to help other people. They're adventurous. They love the outdoors, right? They love exercising. They value these things, right? And the big thing that I see, the big downfall with guys like this is, and because I put my hand up because I was this guy, but like we want to change. We want to be someone else. We want to be someone that we're proud of. So we think that, we have an opportunity. Like, for example, if you had said no to me, right? Like, no, 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 I'm good. I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done. And just like, I just need some time to like think about it. Right. And I need to like, I just need to like double down and like get a clear head and then I'll figure it out. Like, I feel like I've done that so much in my past. And if you had done that, where do you think you would be right now?
That's a tough question. It's a good one again, but it's tough because, I'm not somebody who can predict the future or predict an outcome that may have happened if I decided to not make a certain decision. But with that being said, I never would have had those difficult conversations with people. I think it would have kept contributing to the toxicity of the downsides of my relationships. I'll give you a clear example. My girlfriend, who I love so much and would do anything for in this world,
Mm-hmm.
she her and I can kind of get at each other pretty easily. And I remember sharing this with you as well, Mike, about halfway through our sessions. We were freaking pissed at each other one day, yelling, screaming, all these things. And it happened when we were working together. Mike, it was in the middle of our sessions.
It was like the fourth or fifth one.
Yeah. So the old me would have stormed out the door, slammed the door, and been mad for a week, or not talk to her for a week, because I would have been so in my own head trying to synthesize everything and then produce an outcome within my own head as to how to handle the situation, when truthfully probably wouldn't be the most appropriate way to handle the situation, because it's only in here, it's only in my head.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, I stopped at her front door. I literally had my hand on the freaking handle to leave. I stopped what I was doing. I took a breath and I refocused my energy to freaking figure it out right then and there.
Yep.
That was one of the best decisions that I've ever made in our relationship to this day.
Yep.
Because now when conflict arises, we talk about it in that moment, or we say, okay, we both got a ton going on right now. Let's dive into this on Saturday morning when we have a cup of coffee and we're nice and relaxed. And now we have weekly conversations with each other, talking about the things that may have bothered us or annoyed us or kind of contributed to some sadness every single week. And it's truly transformative. I mean, we go day to day, just feeling good about things and the way that we experience life and the way that we enjoy each other's company. And the reason why I share that example is because, there was so much negativity in that relationship with her in the past, to the point where it would frustrate me and make me want to leave, even though I knew how I felt about her, which was very strongly. So, I don't even remember where we started with it, but
the question is essentially like people who think that they will change their situation by doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, and you can't do that. It's a never-ending cycle, in my opinion. And you have to feel uncomfortable with the decision of wanting to change that, or being uncomfortable or being comfortable with the fear of doing that.
Yeah. And
that's not just I'm going to do it. That's I need to work myself up to it. I need to tell myself and reaffirm and believe in the process. And again, that's not for everybody, but if you allow yourself to make that choice, you're going to feel free. Like you feel lifted, and like it's really hard to describe, truthfully, but I feel great, truthfully.
Inner peace.
Yeah.
Peace with like who you truly are.
Yep.
Right. That's where confidence and self-worth comes from. This is not about being a perfect person, right? Like this isn't about being a Joan of Arc. This is literally just about acknowledging your shortcomings and then acting to improve upon them, and doing that, right? That's the true way to handle insecurity and anxiety and lack of confidence and self-doubt. Also, not to mention some extensive, thought work, and then working through some of our past experiences as well. But that's the end result is peace and confidence and full potential, in my opinion. I mean, you're living proof of it in what, 60 days?
Yeah, that's another thing too. When I first bought in, I was like, 60 days?
Yeah, that's
not a lot of time. But here I am, sitting here and feeling good. I got a tingly sensation in my body just from having this conversation, and that used to not happen, man. I wake up now and I freaking kick ass as soon as I'm out of bed.
Hell
truthfully.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not, just saying that to say it, to reaffirm, the relationship with you that I've had. I'm saying it because I freaking mean it. And, I was watching Sean's testimony last week, and he had said something that his entire morning routine had changed. And so has mine. Maybe not, physically changed. Mentally, though, it has completely switched.
Yep.
And I'm now making breakfast at 4:00 in the morning, sometimes before work. The thought of doing that 8 weeks ago, forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
So I feel good, man. I prioritize myself. I prioritize what I need in order to feel fulfilled during the day, or at least give myself that energy. And I've always wanted to do that, but I've never actually done it. And I figured that with time, it would kind of change and I'd evolve and it would just happen naturally. Not the case.
So just like as a totally honest question here, do you feel that you've gotten your return on investment?
I would invest in this experience probably 5 or 6 more times again.
Great.
I'm not kidding, man. And
Cheers.
you know, if it wasn't you, it'd probably be somebody else. And I had told you in the past that I've worked with a life coach before, but you are somebody who's incredibly relatable. Our values align. Our motivations are very similar. You know, we both want the best versions of ourselves.
Yep.
And I think that's where it really came into play. And I got to be honest with you, I'm super excited to continue to see what you're going to be doing with this journey.
Cheers.
Because it's helped me, and I know that it's helped a bunch of other people tremendously. And I cannot say that enough, truthfully.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
The two more questions for you. The second to last one is, well, the first of two is going to be, why should anyone who's watching this right now, like we're talking about a guy who's driven, motivated to be the best version of himself, really relating with your story right now, really being like, holy shit, I feel like I am going through what Justin was going through. Why should that guy right now, who maybe even like distrusting himself in this very moment, why should he take action instead of like waiting for like a I'll do it next week, or like I'll do it next month once I like figure some stuff out?
It's not going to happen on your own.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen just by saying it'll happen eventually.
Yep.
It won't. I am living proof of that. I graduated college 3 years ago. I thought it was going to happen the day I left campus. It didn't. I thought it was going to happen when I chose a new opportunity that I was super passionate about. It didn't. It helped. It put a Band-Aid on it, but it still was there. It was still there. And I don't want to say like, don't believe in yourself for trying to change on your own. No, that's not it. That's not it. If you truthfully believe and resonate with yourself that you will change on your own, then that's great. But I knew myself that it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't. So, that extra push and that accountability for me was so important. And Mike basically put a spark under my ass and said, hey, dude, you got a great idea here. You are a great person. You're confident, all these things. Just start telling yourself that. And that's, not the entire investment, but he really allowed me to believe in myself at a moment when I knew that I couldn't, truthfully. And that's really where, if people who are listening to this right now feel that way, it's important to at least have a conversation exposing those fears and those feelings.
It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like, just to bounce off what Justin said here, this is not like you looking at yourself in the mirror and saying like, I am happy, I am confident, I am strong, like, because your mind is just going to say bullshit. But there is a lot of power in our thoughts and like what we believe is our reality. So like, part of the things that I say, like self-talk I do it every day. And I don't like say things like I am happy or anything like that, but I'll talk about like, I am working hard every day to like grow this business to help thousands of men, right? I am working every day on improving myself. That's not a lie. I do it every day, right? Or like, when I go through self-doubt or hard times, which invariably I do, I'm human like anyone else, but I say, that's okay. I've been there before. Oh, this self-doubt that I'm experiencing right now, this is just like all the other self-doubt that I've had in my past, and I'm going to get through it. I know that I can get through this. I will get through this. And it's just so like, it's more of like reaffirming things that you're working on. So if like you're a guy right now who's struggling with negative self-image, don't just look at yourself and say, I am happy with myself, because your mind's going to say, bullshit. No, you're not. Say, I am putting in the work today to improve myself 1%. And just take that and just go with it and start. Like, sometimes the best things that you're going to hear about you are the things that you say to you. I heard that from Les Brown, but I was like, that is really powerful. So I just appreciate your story. Like, to be honest with you, man, like, very inspiring, very inspiring. And I just want to say that as much as you said, thank you to me, I have to say, it's all you, man, because you did the work. You literally put in the work. You were willing to say yes. You were really willing to make an investment. You were willing to handle the uncomfortable and hard decisions, right? But on the opposite end of that, you found what you're looking for. And I have an ultimate respect for you. I'm happy to call you a brother and a friend now for sure. So I just seriously, man, thank you so much for the trust and for the process, right?
Yeah, no, it's truthfully that, and the trust thing is a big thing as well. Because to make an investment like that, you got to trust somebody. Um, and truthfully, and I thought you did a great job of that. And one thing too that I'll say that you do really, really well is you know how to provide value for people.
Cheers.
You know how to really just say, what are you doing? Like what's going on? And there's a select few people out there who have a true ability to really instill value into somebody, especially if you don't have a great relationship with them beforehand. We knew each other through people, through family, friends, whatever. We knew of each other. But for you to sit down and say, Justin, here's what you're going through right now. Here's how it'll look once we're done working together.
Yep.
You threw in everything for me right there. And it was almost difficult to say no, truthfully. So I'll say it again, kudos to you for bringing so much value, and just keep grinding, man. Like seriously, it's awesome. I love it. And I cannot wait to see where you are 5 months from now. Other way around.
I was really hoping you were going to say years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. I only use months because you did that for me too,
Yeah. 3 to 6 month timelines. I'm a big fan of that. Right. 7 years from now, dude, me and you are going to be like on an island in Fiji sipping out of coconuts and right.
Oh, I can't wait.
Something like that. So where can people find you? Because if you're also a guy who's, potentially looking to find a job, you're struggling in that department, Justin's your man. So Justin, where can people find you and get connected with you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that big time.
Because Justin's an incredibly high integrity guy. He has an insane amount of life experience. So yeah. I just wanted to put you on display here. Where can people find you?
I appreciate that. And, one of my motivations in this life is helping people as well and bringing value to your life, just like Mike does, just in a little bit different of a fashion.
Yep.
You can find me on Instagram. The name of the handle is Justin Case Career Consulting. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn, just by searching my first and last name, JUSTINSHEFFER. Feel free to shoot me a message, be like, hey, I'd love to have a conversation. Let's bounce ideas off each other. Anything in regards to that, feel free to reach out, guys. I'm here for you guys, and I'm also here for me to learn from you. So feel free to shoot me a message and we'll get connected.
Yeah, Justin truly lives the ethos of helping people. I will say that for sure.
I love it, man. I wouldn't do what I do if it wasn't for the love of helping people.
Dude, I super appreciate this. Just the opportunity to share your story. It's inspiring, and it's something that you really will be able to look back on for a long time, and that's huge, man. So I just thank you so much for sharing it. I know that this is going to be beneficial for at least one person today. So thank you, man.
Yeah, anytime, and thank you again. Seriously. I'm sure people are sick of me hearing me say thank you and like you're the best and stuff. But again, I believe in you and I believe that your method works incredibly well. So anybody who's listening, just keep that in mind, truthfully. And I had my doubts big time. So
right on. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, man.
Peace.